Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Schoolyard Sports podcast. I'm the host of this podcast, Lane Frank. We're now on episode 195. So 195 episodes through, and I got an action-packed episode planned for you. We're going to break down how Travis Hunter won the Heisman. We're going to break down MLB free agency, everything going on there, NBA Cup, NFL, and the incredible college ball playoff we have coming up this week. So much more. Stay tuned for this holiday episode 195. Let's start off episode 195, how we always do, with our headlines and the NBA. Let's break down the NBA Cup and what we have right now. We're in the middle of the NBA Cup final right now between the Bucks and the Thunder. It's a great matchup. Darvin Ham is undefeated in NBA Cup play, 13-0. Kenny Guess 14-0 and a championship tonight. Second NBA Cup championship. We're just going to have to wait and see. Like the NBA Cup, it's a really good thing. NBA, you can admit, gets a little bit boring throughout the season. I'll admit that. It's tough to keep up with the NBA, at least watching the games throughout the season sometimes, but the NBA Cup is a good break in between that where it's like, okay, this is very intriguing. This is interesting to watch. This where stakes are on the line. Some of these players, that may not have huge contracts. They're fighting for that $500,000, whatever it might be, $500,000 or $1 million bonus you get if you win the NBA Cup as a player. So these players want it. It's a big win. Bucks versus Thunder. Let's see who comes out on top, everybody. But for the Lakers, LeBron James is back with the team now. And it's a little bit interesting because, what was LeBron doing this time off? Was he going to maybe, let's say, Germany to get some treatment on his foot? Christian McCaffrey did that earlier in the year. Was it something like that? Or was, just a different type of leave of absence? Just really have nothing done in his foot except rest. And then maybe that's why he's playing better. But LeBron said that his left foot has bugged him for years. Really acting up right now. But he did play well on his return on Sunday. Had about 18 points, played pretty well. They manhandled the Grizzlies. Anthony Davis played pretty well. That's why Anthony Davis should play every single night, in my opinion. Yeah, he doesn't do it, but Anthony Davis and LeBron James, if they can be a top duo again, this team, sky's the limit for them. Championship is on the horizon. If Anthony Davis can play like how he did the other night, LeBron James can give them solid 35 minutes a night with, let's say, 30 points. I'll get it done for the Lakers, everybody. Let's move things over to the NFL. Action-packed week in the NFL. The Rams took on the 49ers in Sunday Night Football, beat them. Quick win for them. Blake Corum, my Michigan guy, getting some more action in these games now. Dallas Cowboys, they got a nice one Sunday over the Carolina Panthers. The first time the Panthers were favored in about 2 years, or maybe even more than that, and they lost on Sunday to the Cowboys. Reminding Vegas, we're still not good. The Cowboys saying, we're not good either, but we're going to beat the Panthers. Cooper Rush gets a nice win. Can the Cowboys sneak into the playoffs? My answer is no. What do you think? Leave your answer on that in the comments. Kansas City Chiefs, they won, but it comes to the price, everybody. Patrick Mahomes out for a little bit, maybe week to week, maybe even month to month it might be. Carson Wentz will be probably playing this week against the Texans, short turnaround, and maybe even on Christmas. If I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, you have two very big upcoming games. You're going up against Texans on Saturday, and then you've got your Christmas game on Wednesday. Two very short turnaround games, 2 short weeks. Don't play Patrick Mahomes in either of those weeks. Don't do it. Let Patrick Mahomes rest. Let him get ready for playoffs, and then you win your 4th straight, 3rd straight, whatever it might be, Super Bowl, and your Super Bowl champions. Patrick Mahomes gets his 4th Super Bowl ring. I think that's what everybody wants. Patrick Mahomes gets some rest, and then he can play well in the playoffs because we all want to see a healthy Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I'm not saying everybody wants to see Mahomes win in the playoffs. We all want to see a healthy Mahomes in the playoffs. Get that high level of football going on in the playoffs. But Chiefs, nice one Sunday over the Browns. Cincinnati Bengals keeping things rolling. Nice one over the Titans. Had the pedal to the metal in the first half. Gave up a little bit in the second half. But still, Jamar Chase playing well. The secret weapon, Chase Brown, has done great for them. And Joe Burrow, same thing. Washington Commanders got a nice one Sunday. They're just playing well. The difference is between the Commanders and the Bears is that the Bears, they obviously had a really interesting start, starting at 4-2. Commanders are about 5-1. Then the Commanders put the dagger in the Bears. They haven't won a game since then, since that Hail Mary. The Bears have not won a game since they lost to the Commanders in the Hail Mary. And the Commanders have obviously done a very nice job. Jay Daniels playing some pretty good football, everybody. Baltimore Ravens keeping things rolling, beating my New York Giants 35-14. Key takeaway, Rashad Bateman had the best game of his career on Sunday. That's what we like to see from a former first-round pick at the receiver position. New York Jets, they got a nice one Sunday. Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers showing what the future might be like because this team is 4-10. They are going nowhere. But if they can bring back Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams next year, then maybe, just maybe, this team can win some games. I wouldn't be so quick to move on from Rodgers and Devontae Adams yet if I were the New York Jets. Houston Texans got a great win on Sunday, taking down Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins, keeping things going. Interesting takeaway, CJ Stroud only had about 150 passing yards, really hasn't played great this year, sophomore slump for CJ Stroud in full effect, in my opinion. Denver Broncos got a nice one Sunday. Bo Nix didn't play great, but his team has a really nice record. I think they're sitting at 9-4. Sean Payton coaches his butt off right now. Nick Bonito and Patrick Surtain, the second, both looking like Defense Player of the Year candidates. Nick Bonito, back-to-back weeks of the pick six, and Patrick Surtain leading the NFL in interceptions. You love to see it. Denver Broncos on fire right now. Buffalo Bills may have well won the game of the week over the Detroit Lions, and they won that game convincingly, putting up almost 60 points on Detroit Lions. Aaron Glenn and his defense is shaking in their boots. They got a lot of injuries, especially hurting my fantasy team, Dave Montgomery. That's a big dagger to my fantasy team. He'll be out for the rest of the year. Lee McNeil will be out for the rest of the year. Alex Anzalone will be out for the rest of the year. A few other guys can be out for the rest of the year, including, let's say, Aiden Hutchinson, who they missed out in September. He's also out for the rest of the year. So this Lions team has been riddled by injuries all year. It's just getting worse down the stretch, but great win for the Bills on Sunday. Philadelphia Eagles, they won their big battle against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really a heated in-state battle. The first time Russell Wilson has lost an in-state battle in his career. Never lost any in college. Never lost any in the NFL. Loses his first one right here. The Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles over the Steelers, and they won that convincingly. Jalen Hurts played good football. Nick Sirianni, Eagles just cannot lose, everybody. Arizona Cardinals, they shut down Drake May. Jonathan Gannon, love this defense. Their contention for an NFC West title, rightfully so. Kyler Murray playing Kyler Murray football. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be flashy, and it's going to work. Let's see if it can work in the playoffs. That's obviously the big test, but working right now in the regular season for Kyler Murray. Buccaneers, they impressed me the most this week of any team. They went up to LA, and they played the best scoring defense in the NFL, and they hung about 50 on them. Jim Harbaugh really had no plan for Baker Mayfield. Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield were torching this Chargers defense all day. Jesse Minter, he wants to be a head coach, but that was a terrible game right there against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For his defense. Defense coordinator Jesse Minter struggled playing for the Buccaneers, and that showed. Buccaneers back in the playoff hunt, especially with the way the Falcons have been playing. No, they got the win Monday Night Football, but they're making the switch to Michael Penix Jr. at quarterback. Maybe that can help them out a little bit. This offense has been struggling. They got a close win on the Raiders on Monday Night Football. Green Bay Packers playing well. They got a great one on Sunday Night Football over the Seattle Seahawks. Jordan Love just playing consistent. This is the best team in football when it comes to December. That's historically known. Everybody knows that. The best team in football in December is the Green Bay Packers, and the best coach in football in December in the NFL might as well be Matt LaFleur, everybody. I think he's undefeated in the past few seasons in the regular season in December. And Jordan Love, this is where he peaked last year for a season, so he's peaking this year. Having a great season, Jordan Love, and showing right here, great win in Sunday Night Football, going up to Seattle against Seattle Seahawks, everybody. So things over to the MLB. We had a nice week in the MLB. Kyle Tucker got traded over from the Houston Astros to the Chicago Cubs. I think they should have got better players in that deal. I think they could have got better players in that deal. Yet they didn't. Isaac Paredes is really the main piece in that trade. Don't love this move by the Astros, but a great player for the Cubs at such a cheap price. Devin Williams going over to the New York Yankees. That's a big move for them right there. Big closer. Saved my October as a Mets fan. He saved the Mets season when he gave up that 3-run bomb to Pete Alonso. Devin Williams, good closer, good pickup for the Yankees. Roki Sasaki, the saga goes on. He's officially been posted. But where will he go? Will he be a Dodger? Will he be a White Sox? Will he be a Royal? Will he be a Met? Where will Roki Sasaki, the number one foreign pitching prospect, end up, everybody? That's the big question I got for you in these headlines. Cody Bellinger is headed over to the New York Yankees. That's a big deal for them. Cody Bellinger's dad played for the Yankees, Clay Bellinger. Now he gets to play it for the Yankees. He'll be playing center field. Aaron Judge will be playing right field. Big move for them right there. And the last thing in the MLB, let's talk about the MLB draft lottery. Washington Nationals, they didn't really have great odds to get the number one pick, yet they did, and they got the number one overall pick, while the Miami Marlins, who were projected to get number one, slid all the way down to 7. I think that's a bit egregious. Shouldn't fall that far as the worst team in MLB. That's why I don't always love these lottery systems. It shouldn't be that big of a slide. I'm not really a fan of a lottery system. I think it should just be, you go with your ranking in order. That's how you keep order. The bad teams have a way to get better. Well, the good teams don't always have to be. Nationals have a really good farm system. They'll get even better this year. They'll pick up Ethan Holiday, whoever it might be with this number one overall pick. That's part of the headlines, everybody. Talk about the MLB draft lottery, NFL, free agency. We got so much more coming up in this episode 195. Stay tuned. Now, Schoolyard Sports NFL Game Day, where we pick the best games in the NFL in the week, try to get a perfect record. Let's hop into it. First game, Broncos versus Chargers, Thursday Night Football. I like this game, everybody. I think it'd be a good one. I got the Chargers pulling off the upset over the Broncos. Key thing right here, Chargers defense played terrible against Buccaneers. And Jesse Minter doesn't really have terrible games. The only terrible game he had at Michigan, you could say, was the TCU game. And of course, he bounced back from that game by winning a national championship. Not saying Chargers are going to bounce back from that game by winning a Super Bowl, but they're going to bounce back by playing well Bo Nix in the win last week threw 3 picks. Didn't play well. This Chargers veteran defense is going to eat him alive. Let's go with the Chargers over the Broncos. Texans versus the Chiefs. I don't care if it's Carson Wentz. I don't care if it's Patrick Mahomes. I don't care if it's me who's the quarterback. I don't care if it's DJ Ongole, even though I think I could be better than him as quarterback of this Chiefs team. The Chiefs are going to win this game no matter what. Chiefs over the Texans. They do enough. They get the win. Too many talented players. Texans, this offense struggled. CJ Stroud, I know they got the win last week, but he's in a big sophomore slump. Chiefs over the Texans. Steelers versus the Ravens, a big in-division game right here. Steelers need a win coming off a big loss last week. You don't want 5 losses, but I think they get one right here. Ravens over the Steelers. Hopefully they can build off their momentum from last week where they had a great run game. They had a great passing game. I think they do that again this week. Ravens over the Steelers. Eagles versus the Commanders, a really good in-division rivalry. We got Jaden Daniels going up against the Eagles. Nick Sirianni going head-to-head with Dan Quinn. This will be a good matchup, 2 defense head coaches. But I got the Eagles coming out on top. I think Jaden Daniels is going to win Rookie of the Year. He's going to make the playoffs. But the Eagles are going to get this 1 seed. They are the best team in football. Eagles over the Commanders. Rams versus the Jets. The Rams hype train could be as high as it is right now, where everybody thinks they're going to win the NFC West because they beat the Bills. They beat the 49ers. Reality check right here. This Jets team had a great game last week, and I might be buying into too much. I know the Jets season is over. I know they're not going to finish any better than 3 games under 500. I don't care about that. Jets get the win over the Rams. Jets over the Rams. Vikings versus the Seahawks. Let's go with the Vikings this one. Free win for them. It's a little bit interesting. Every game for the Vikings, every game's close. They get the win. Maybe they just have an easy schedule. I think that's showing because they obviously have a great record, but they might not get a great playoff seed. I think the best they can get if they don't win the division is about the 5 seed, which would be a ridiculous seed for a 14-3 team, which they might end up being at the end of the year. Let's go with the Vikings over the Seahawks. Bucks versus the Cowboys. Buccaneers played really well last week. Cowboys also got the win, but the Buccaneers are hunting for a playoff spot with the Cowboys pretty much out of the race. Buccaneers over the Cowboys. And now, the last game of the week, Saints versus the Packers. Saints have all types of quarterback messes, drama. Derek Carr, nope. Jake Hayner, nope. Spencer Rattler, really not playing well. Who are they going to start in this game? I don't care. Packers over the Saints. And that's about for Schoolyard Sports NFL Game Day. Now, top 5. This week's top 5 is the top 5 Heisman Snubs of all time. Everybody. Now, I don't want somebody saying, oh, what about this guy in 1950? No, we're not going that far back for the Heisman. Top 5 Heisman Snubs of all time, though. We got some big snubs, at least in my lifetime, that I'm going to bring up right here. Hopefully, you agree with them. You'll see a common theme on here of these Heisman Snubs. Let's hop into it. Honorable mention, Christian McCaffrey in 2015. Derrick Henry had a great season in 2015. Derrick Henry deserved to win the Heisman. But in another year, Christian McCaffrey would have too. That's why he's only an honorable mention. Could have gone to either of these guys, Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry. Really the closest Heisman race we've had up until this year. So Christian McCaffrey versus Derrick Henry, that's 2015. Honorable mention, Christian McCaffrey, 2015. Number 5, Bryce Love, Stanford running back in 2017. So we're going back-to-back Stanford right here. I think Baker Mayfield had an incredible season in 2017. He also deserved to win the Heisman. But Bryce Love ran all over defenses. Bryce Love had a great season. He went back in 2018, had a horrible season. But 2017 Bryce Love was different. That's why he's number 5 on my list as number 5 Heisman snub of all time. Number 4, another Stanford Cardinal. The third one, and that's the common theme, Andrew Luck. And not just 2010 versus Cam Newton, but Andrew Luck in 2011 versus Robert Griffin III. Both these guys obviously won their Heisman. They had great seasons, but Andrew Luck could have also won the Heisman. Cam Newton's a national champion. Robert Griffin, I really think that's the year that Andrew Luck could have won the Heisman and maybe even should have won the Heisman. But he's doing great things now, Andrew Luck. He's the GM of NIL over at Stanford. Andrew Luck, number 4 Heisman snub of all time. Number 3, this one's a little bit close to home, Aiden Hutchinson in 2021. You all know he's a Michigan fan. I thought Aiden Hutchinson could never win the Heisman. He had a really good year. He had the most sacks in college football. And then when it went to the Ohio State game, nobody thought he had a chance to win the Heisman. Everybody thought it was between Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. What if Aiden Hutchinson shut down C.J. Stroud? He had 3 sacks on him. He had a great day against the Ohio State Buckeyes offensive line and C.J. Stroud to where he earned himself back in that Heisman conversation where it's Aiden Hutchinson versus Bryce Young. Bryce Young had a great last drive against Auburn. It was a 7-5 Auburn team where he had to leave about a 3-minute, 95-yard drive against them to get the win. And then they went overtime. But you're playing a 7-5 team, and to do that drive, it's impressive, but you're playing a 7-5 team. I don't think that necessarily warranted Bryce Young the Heisman. You could call that his Heisman moment. I would say Aiden Hutchinson's Heisman moment of being Ohio State, getting those 3 sacks, having the most sacks in college football that year. That was a better moment. That's what deserved him the Heisman over Bryce Young in 2021. But number 3, Aiden Hutchinson in 2021. Number 2, Tua Tagovailoa in 2018. This is a really good one, really interesting one, because they both had great seasons, Kyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa. It was a toss-up. The whole way, it seemed like Tua Tagovailoa had it, and Tua Tagovailoa had a great season. He didn't play in the fourth quarter until about the 10th game of the year, so maybe if he did play in the fourth quarter like Kyler Murray did, then maybe he could have won the Heisman. But Kyler Murray won his conference championship. The difference for Tua may have been that they would have lost the SEC championship game if Jalen Hurts didn't have to come in for an injured Tua Tagovailoa to win that game. So that's why Tua Tagovailoa had a great season, but he didn't win the Heisman. But still a big snub. Had a great Heisman season. Let's go with Tua Tagovailoa in 2018 at number 2. Number 1, and the biggest Heisman snub of all time. You can debate me on it. You're gonna have a lot of knowledge on it because it's pretty recent. It's the biggest snub I've seen, maybe of any award of all time. It's Ashton Jeanty in 2024. This guy had 2,000 rushing yards. If he played in the fourth quarter of these games, he could have had 3,000 rushing yards, 4,000 rushing yards, 5,000 rushing yards. He could have the most rushing yards of all time for a career if he played in almost every game this year. Because he did play in every game, but if he played the whole entire game, because he carried this team so much to where they were comfortable in games, so they could say, okay, Ashton, you can rest for the rest of the game, because we've had such a great game behind you running the football. I've never seen someone have so many explosive runs in each game of their college football season. Every game, Ashton Jeanty has had an explosive run. Every game he's had 2,000 yards. And yes, Travis Hunter had a great college football season playing both sides of the ball. Both sides. But Charles Woodson also did that, won the Heisman, and a lot of people were outraged about that, saying Peyton Manning should have won it. Travis Hunter had better offensive stats than Charles Woodson. I'd say Charles Woodson had better defensive stats than Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is now the second defensive player of all time to win the Heisman. Ashton Jeanty will not win the Heisman as a running back, which is pretty tough. And it's good that these guys separated themselves from the quarterbacks because the quarterbacks have won this award so much in the past few years. And it's good that we have this. But Ashton Jeanty was clear-cut robbed right here. Highway robbery of this Heisman trophy. Taking nothing away from Travis Hunter. Great season. But Ashton Jeanty was robbed. That's why he's number 1 on this list. Those are the top 5 Heisman snubs of all time. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, did you know, this week's Did You Know is, did you know PE teacher James Naismith, sound familiar? The guy who created basketball. His original basketball game was 9-on-9 before later people developed the game to be 5-on-5. Imagine we the NBA as 9-on-9. That'd be incredible. Be really interesting to see. It'd be chaos everywhere, of course. You could even have fans on the court. There's so many people on the court you wouldn't even be able to tell who's who. But 9-on-9 basketball was the original vision that James Naismith had for basketball in his PE class where he created basketball. Didn't know that? Leave that in the comments. That's about for Did You Know this week. Now it's time to hear from your 16-year-old source, everybody. I always have the good news for you when it comes to basketball, everything basketball. I gave you the Klay Thompson news. I gave you the Paul George news. I gave you the H.J. Benson news last week. The news I've got for you this week about NBA, big rumor I'm hearing around, and I got a big tip about this. This is not a Shams Charania report. This is more valid. I have vetted this report, like Shams has, and I think this is very credible. He doesn't have it down to one team. We have it down to one team. The Houston Rockets are the main team in play for Jimmy Butler, and I would be shocked if a deal didn't come through. That's what I'm hearing. What my sources are saying is that Jimmy Butler to Houston is a lock. He's from Texas. Both sides want to be a part of each other. Houston Rockets want Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler wants to be a Houston Rocket. It will get done, everybody, by the trade deadline. Just wait for it to happen. I'm your 16-year-old source. That's my take on what I'm hearing about this whole Jimmy Butler situation going on with the Heat. I think he's going to be a Houston Rocket, everybody. That's what I'm hearing. It's about from your 16-year-old source, Lane Frank. Now it's time to do a little What Lane Would I Take Quinn Ewers situation. Now, you know me, I'm not the biggest Quinn Ewers fan. I think he's the Kirk Cousins of football. I don't think he's some superstar college football quarterback. I think they should start Arch Manning over him. But I will say that Quinn Ewers has done a nice job at college football. He's led this team 12 wins. They obviously have a really good season so far. Texas is a good team. They made the playoff last year with Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers had a good season this year, good team. He manages the game very well. But there may be a point where Quinn Ewers says, I can't get with the NFL. I just can't do it. I'm not good enough for the NFL yet. I'm not saying Quinn Ewers can ever go to the NFL. I'm saying he's not ready for the NFL yet. He's got a decision to face after this year. A big decision. Quinn Ewers made a little dumb decision when he was in high school and went to Ohio State on an NIL deal and enrolled 1 year early into college. Went to Ohio State, did nothing there, transferred after 1 year, and went to Texas. Okay, that's his freshman year at Texas because he technically redshirted at 2021 at Ohio State. All right, he's on par with the guys like Cade Klubnik, other guys in his class. 2021 is his freshman year at Texas. Has a good year, gets hurt a little bit. They don't do much, though. 2022 comes back. they would make the playoff against Washington. Quinn Ewers comes back for one more year where everybody thinks this is his last year. It would be his junior year if he didn't enroll a year early. Right now, it's his senior year where he still has one more year eligibility, his redshirt senior year. And he's had a good year, like we said. But it may be time to come back to college football for one more year. But if I'm Steve Sarkisian, I'm saying, Quinn, I love you. You've done a great job for me. You're not coming back to Austin. You're not coming back here. I've got Arch Manning. I will not lose Arch Manning to save you. That's how I'm saying if I'm Steve Sarkisian. We've done a great job, Quinn. Maybe we even won a national championship when it's all said and done. If I'm Steve Sarkisian, there is no way I'm bringing back Quinn Ewers this year. No doc or Quinn Ewers. Good college ball quarterback. Not going to the NFL, though. He'll enter the transfer portal, where I think a big name, let's say a Bill Belichick, could go after Quinn Ewers. Be the biggest NIL deal of all time. Quinn Ewers could go pretty much anywhere in the country. He could go to USC and get a huge deal. He could go to Miami and get a huge deal. He could go back to Ohio State and get a huge deal, Quinn Ewers. He could go to North Carolina, like I said, with Bill Belichick. He could go up to Michigan, teach Bryce Underwood. Please don't do that, Michigan. There's a lot of options for Quinn Ewers on the table. I would say returning to Texas and going to the NFL are not one of them. Transfer portal, all these schools are the options for Quinn Ewers. I don't care if he wins a championship this year. If I'm an NFL scout, I'm not taking Quinn Ewers. If I'm Steve Sarkisian, I'm not taking him back to Austin. What are your thoughts on this situation? That's the lane I would take if I'm Quinn Ewers. Go to the transfer portal, get your bag, and then go to the NFL a year later. Those are my thoughts. Leave your take in the comments. Now, college football showcase, where it's time we start to talk about the college football playoffs. Talking about playoffs? Yes, the playoffs, not necessarily called the college football playoff anymore, really loses that big emphasis in the playoff where we only had 4 teams. Now we got a whole-blown playoffs like we do in the NFL, NBA, all these other leagues, MLB. We got 12 teams in the college football playoffs. I wouldn't even call it the playoff anymore. The playoffs in college football between these 12 teams. And we got 4 on-campus games this week. I'm so excited for these games. It's going to be full-out mania in college football this weekend. Can't wait for it. Let's start out with our Friday night college football playoff game. The first ever on-campus college football playoff game. And it's a good one. In-state battle. Indiana at Notre Dame. Let's think about this. Indiana, they win this game. They're rushing that field. In South Bend, they're rushing that field. They're not playing this game in Bloomington. They're playing that game in South Bend, but I can guarantee you there's going to be a bunch of Indiana fans there. They will rush that field if Notre Dame loses this game, if Indiana wins. They will rush that field. Think of Clemson, South Carolina. South Carolina rushes the field every single time they beat Clemson at Clemson. That's exactly what's going to happen right here if Indiana beats Notre Dame. But I don't see that happening because I have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish winning this game over the Indiana Hoosiers. This defense is too much for Curtis Rourke, and they keep the theme of what I've said all year long. They've lost that Northern Illinois game. They understand that. They know that's a tough loss. They know they beat Texas A&M. They know they beat a really good Army team. They know they beat a really good Navy team. They know what they are. They know that they beat a good Georgia Tech team. I'm not worried about this Notre Dame team at all. It's going to be an incredible matchup versus Georgia in the second round. Notre Dame over Indiana. Winner plays Georgia. Let's go Notre Dame over Indiana in the first ever on-campus college ball playoff game. Next game, it's a fun one too. SMU at Penn State. Kevin Jennings and SMU, the Texas boys, up in the snow at Penn State. A noon whiteout. This is going to be an incredible environment. James Franklin, what he's done his whole career is lose big-time games, especially at home. Will he do it this year? I say no. Penn State over SMU. Winner plays Boise State, and it's a huge matchup for Penn State. It's a huge path for Penn State. You win this game, you go and play Boise State, and you have a clear path to the semifinal of the college football playoff. If that doesn't happen, I don't know if it's ever going to happen under James Franklin. So it has to happen this year. Penn State over SMU, and they'll play Boise State in the playoff. Next game, Clemson versus Texas. Winner plays Arizona State. A little background here. Cade Klubnik's from Texas. Went to Westlake. Played Quinn Ewers, who went to Southlake in the state championship game. Beat Quinn Ewers in that state title game. Cade Klubnik was arguably a better prospect than Quinn Ewers coming out of high school. Cade Klubnik's arguably a better college football player right now than Quinn Ewers. Clemson's getting a lot of steam. Dabo Swinney just got his first ever transfer portal commitment. This program's changing heads. This program won the ACC championship. They got a huge revival pack from Fran Brown. They lost that game to South Carolina, a terrible experience for them. They lost that game to Louisville, a terrible experience for them. They lost that game to Georgia, a bad experience for them. I think they let all of that out of the window, and they go down to Texas, and they do the remarkable upset right here, the unthinkable. They pull an upset over Texas, just like Cade Klubnik did in that state title game a few years back. Cade Klubnik takes it on Quinn Ewers, where Steve Sarkisian says, why didn't I start Arch Manning? We're all wondering the same thing, and we will be wondering it. Why wouldn't he start Arch Manning? He's getting paid for the price right here, but not starting Arch Manning. Let's go with Phil Maffa, Dabo Swinney and Cade Klubnik to upset the Texas Longhorns. Clemson over Texas. Next game, in the last college ball playoff game, perhaps the best one, Tennessee versus Ohio State. I want a color rush game. It's a nighttime playoff game. I want it to be color rush. I want Tennessee to wear their bright orange. I want Ohio State to wear their full-on, full red, all red. It'd be a great matchup to have a color rush college ball matchup. Will we get it? Probably not. It'd be cool to have it. Let's break it down. Ohio State obviously is reeling after their terrible loss to Michigan. This team has a bad taste in their mouth. How can they fix that? Did they fix that over these past few weeks? I'm not sure what the answer to that is, but I hope so, because this Tennessee team is coming ready to play. Dylan Sampson might be the best running back in the country. Nico Amaleva can be a great game manager. He can also make some really good plays with his legs. This defense is really good for Tennessee. You look at James Pierce. You can look at any of these guys in this defense, and they are talented. They're going to scare Will Howard. You know how Marcari Page hit the huge hit with Will Howard? They are going to do the same thing to Will Howard 10 times harder, because this defense is like that at Tennessee. A very good defense. The one common theme I've seen at Ohio State and Ryan Day's time there, for a difference from Urban Meyer, is that Urban Meyer beat the SEC consistently. He beat Alabama in the playoff. He beat teams in the playoff. What Ryan Day has yet to do in his time at Ohio State is beat a single SEC team. Look no further than last year's Sugar Bowl, where they got dominated by Missouri. It wasn't just a close game. It wasn't anything. They got dominated. Missouri didn't put up a ton of points, but there was no chance. Ohio State looked like they had no life in that game. And unfortunately, I think we see the same in this game, where Tennessee goes up to the blistering cold of Columbus, Ohio, and they give Ohio State zero hope in this game. Tennessee over Ohio State. And that's about it for the Hot Takes. College Ball Showcase, playoff Hot Takes, everybody. Let's do a segment we haven't done in a very long time called Mirror Images. We used to do it comparing, let's say, NFL teams to NBA teams, college teams to NFL teams, college teams to NBA teams. Now we're going to do it just comparing college to pros. It could be players, it could be coaches. Let's hop into it. First one, Bill Self is the Eric Spoelstra of college basketball. If Bill Self hit the market right now in college basketball, every team in the country would fire their coach to get Bill Self. Maybe except, let's say, a UConn, or a Michigan with Dusty May, or a Kentucky with John Calipari. But Bill Self would be the most sought-after coach in college basketball by a landslide. If Eric Spoelstra were to be fired by the Miami Heat, I mean, everybody would want Eric Spoelstra by a landslide, except for, a few select teams. But Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the NBA, consistently year in, year out, even though he hasn't made championships. He has a few to his name, though. Same thing for Bill Self. Consistently has a great team year in, year out. Doesn't have as many championships on his ring as he'd like, but he still has championships. Bill Self, Eric Spoelstra. It's a great comparison right there. Next one, it's a player comparison. Mark Sears of Alabama to Jalen Brunson. I watch Mark Sears and I see, that's my favorite player in the NBA, Jalen Brunson. They play the exact same way. I hope Mark Sears can have a great NBA career like Jalen Brunson has had. Next one, two football coaches compare them to each other. Dan Lanning and Dan Campbell. Both these guys have it. Now, Dan Lanning may even be a better coach than Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell likes to go for risk. He likes to do some crazy things. Dan Lanning will do the same thing. He's not content with, just kicking an extra point. He might want to try some trickery, see if he can get a team offside, see if he can do something really interesting. Dan Lanning also can get his team fired up. Dan Campbell can do the same thing. They have great staffs around them. Dan Lanning had Kenny Dillingham with him for a while. He's Will Stein with him now. And of course, Dan Campbell has Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn with him. Love this comparison right here. The two Dans, Dan Campbell and Dan Lanning, Oregon head coach and Detroit Lions head coach. Next one, and a lot of people might get mad at me about this one, but it's a common theme on this episode. Ripping into Quinn Ewers, because Quinn Ewers is the Kirk Cousins of college football. There's no debating around it. They're a big name. They're a big player. They have accolades to their name. Let's say Quinn Ewers brought his team to the playoff. Big accolade. But can they perform when the lights are the brightest? Kirk Cousins is notoriously known for having one of the worst primetime records of all time. Even though he just won on primetime, he just got benched right after for Michael Penix Jr., a rookie. Quinn Ewers can't beat Georgia. He can't win the primetime. Couldn't beat Washington last year in the playoff. Quinn Ewers, the time is now. But if you can't get it done, you are the Kirk Cousins of college football. That's my comparison for Quinn Ewers right now. You know what you're going to get? They're big names. They're big players. But they're not going to go and win you a championship. Quinn Ewers and Kirk Cousins, the same exact player. That's my comparison. Quinn and Kirk. Last one, maybe the best one. Dylan Harper of Rutgers, best player in college basketball right now, is the same player, same comparison as Cade Cunningham. They're both point guards. They both play the game the right way. They both play the game very effectively. Obviously, Cade Cunningham's had injuries in his career. He was the number 1 pick. Maybe that's a little bit regretful about Pistons making that pick. But when Cade Cunningham is healthy, he is one of the elite guards in the NBA. He is so explosive. You watch Dylan Harper, he's a better shooter than Cade Cunningham, and he's so explosive in so many ways, like Cade Cunningham is. Love this comparison right here. And that's about Premier Images comparing college to pros. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, question day. This week's question day is, will teams rush the field in the college football playoff? We have some great on-campus matchups in the college football playoff, but will teams rush the field if they win the game? That's question day. Leave your answer in the comments. That's part of Schoolyard Sports Land Frank, episode 195. Thank you for tuning in. Follow Schoolyard Sports on Instagram at Schoolyard Sports. Follow Schoolyard Sports on X at Schoolyard Sport. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the best sports content in the world. We want to wish you happy holidays here at Schoolyard Sports. Won't be here next week. Back the week after that for our New Year's special episode. Stay tuned and happy holidays.